The companies you are about to hear about are still operating today. Their logos are on your phone, in your medicine cabinet, in your car. And every single one of them made their largest profits in history during a catastrophe. Not accidentally, not incidentally, deliberately, with board meetings, with strategy documents, with legal teams that made sure they could never be prosecuted. This video covers 5 corporations, 5 catastrophes, and the paper trail that was supposed to stay buried forever. Stay until Corporation 5, because that one has a detail that the company's own lawyers argued in a US federal court should never be spoken aloud in public. Everything in this video is sourced from court documents, declassified government files, and published academic research. All sources are listed below. This is World Factum. Let's begin with the company that built the machine that made the Holocaust possible, and then sent the bill. Corporation 1, IBM. The Holocaust, 1933 to 1945. January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany. Within weeks, the Nazi regime begins one of the most ambitious bureaucratic projects in human history, identifying, cataloging, and tracking every Jewish person in Germany, every Roma person, every political dissident, every person the regime had decided needed to be found. The problem they faced was scale. Germany had 65 million people. Cross-referencing religious records, census data, business registrations, and birth certificates manually would take decades. The Holocaust, as historians have noted, was not merely an act of hatred. It was an act of administration. And administration requires technology. Enter IBM. Or, more precisely, enter the Hollerith punch card machine, a technology IBM had built its entire business model on. Data processing at industrial scale. IBM, under its chairman Thomas J. Watson, operating from New York City, leased these machines to the Nazi government beginning in 1933. Not sold, leased. This distinction matters critically because IBM retained ownership, IBM retained control, and IBM retained the ability to withdraw them at any time. They never withdrew them. The 1933 German census, designed and processed with IBM technology, identified approximately 500,000 Jews in Germany. The data was transferred directly to the Nazi government's racial classification system. Every identified person now had a number, generated by an IBM machine, that would follow them through every subsequent phase of what the regime was building. As the regime expanded its programs, Kristallnacht, the ghetto system, the deportations, the construction of the camps, IBM expanded its services accordingly. By the early 1940s, IBM's subsidiaries were providing machines to every major concentration camp in the system. Each camp had its own IBM Hollerith unit.
Sign here.
Prisoners were given numbers. Those numbers were tattooed onto their arms. Those numbers corresponded to IBM punch card sequences. Arrival date, work assignment, health status, transfer, death, all processed through the machines, all tracked, all billed to the Nazi government on a monthly lease basis. Edwin Black, the investigative journalist who spent 5 years in archives across the United States, Germany, France, and Israel, documented something even more extraordinary. IBM's New York headquarters, operating through intermediaries in neutral countries, primarily Switzerland, maintained regular communication with its German subsidiary throughout the war. including after the United States and Germany were at war with each other. IBM New York was directing the operations of IBM Germany while American soldiers were dying in combat against German forces. The paper trail is documented. The correspondence was uncovered. The chain of instruction from New York to the camps is in the archives. After the war, IBM was never charged, never formally investigated by the US government, never prosecuted under the Trading with the Enemy Act. Thomas Watson returned an honorary medal that Hitler had given him in 1937. IBM's official position has been that its German operations fell outside the company's control. The documents uncovered by Edwin Black demonstrate that this position is false. IBM New York was managing its German assets through subsidiaries in neutral countries throughout the war. The book documenting this, IBM and the Holocaust, was published in 2001, became a New York Times bestseller with over 1 million copies sold, and has never been legally challenged by IBM in any jurisdiction. IBM has never apologized. Corporation 2, the company that invented aspirin and also made the gas used in the trenches of World War I, and also made the chemical used in the gas chambers. One company, 2 world wars, both sides of the same chemical. Corporation 2, Bayer, IG Farben. 2 world wars, 2 categories of corporate profit from human destruction. Bayer was founded in 1863 in Wuppertal, Germany. By the early 20th century, it was one of the most innovative chemical and pharmaceutical companies in the world. It invented aspirin in 1897, one of the most significant pharmaceutical achievements in history. It invented heroin, marketed in the 1890s as a children's cough suppressant and a non-addictive alternative to morphine. It invented methadone. The company's scientific capability was extraordinary and genuine. The same industrial chemistry that produced life-saving medicines could produce other things. In 1914, World War I began, and Bayer's parent conglomerate, IG Farben, began producing chlorine gas and mustard gas for the German military at industrial scale. The business logic was straightforward: a government customer with unlimited demand, a product that required ongoing technical expertise, and no alternative supplier. Approximately 1.3 million casualties in World War I are attributed to chemical weapons. IG Farben produced the majority of Germany's chemical warfare agents for the entire duration of the war. The profits were substantial, the customers were regular, the arrangement was stable. Germany lost World War I. IG Farben restructured. Bayer continued its pharmaceutical operations. The chemical manufacturing capacity was maintained. And when the next war came, 20 years later, the same organization, the same industrial infrastructure, the same business relationships, was ready. For World War II, IG Farben's most significant contribution to the Nazi program was a product called Zyklon B. Originally developed as a pesticide for delousing clothing and treating grain storage facilities. Manufactured by a company called Diegisch, which was 42.5% owned by IG Farben. The Nazis began using it in the gas chambers of Auschwitz in 1941. IG Farben also built a facility, Bunawerke, directly adjacent to Auschwitz, specifically designed to use concentration camp prisoners as forced labor. The facility produced synthetic rubber and fuel for the German war effort. It used approximately 83,000 slave laborers over its operational period. Thousands died there. The Nuremberg trials specifically prosecuted IG Farben executives. 13 were convicted. The longest sentence was 8 years. Most served considerably less. The company was broken into smaller entities after the war. Those entities merged and reorganized over the following decades. One of them is called Bayer. In 2018, Bayer acquired Monsanto for $63 billion. It is today one of the largest agricultural and pharmaceutical companies in the world. Corporation 3. This one is less dark, but in some ways more revealing, because it shows that you do not need genocide to find a corporate profit opportunity in catastrophe. Sometimes all you need is a war and a soft drink. Corporation 3, the Coca-Cola Company, Germany, 1940, and the origin of a product that 2 billion people have consumed without knowing where it came from. By 1939, Coca-Cola had established a substantial German subsidiary, Coca-Cola GmbH, managed by a German national named Max Keith. Keith had been running the German operation since 1933. He was effective, ambitious, and deeply committed to maintaining the Coca-Cola business regardless of political circumstances. When the United States entered World War II in December 1941, U.S.-German commercial relations were severed. Coca-Cola's New York headquarters could no longer supply the syrup that made Coca-Cola Coca-Cola. The German operation faced a straightforward choice: shut down or adapt. Max Keith chose to adapt. He instructed his chemists to develop a new beverage from whatever ingredients were available in wartime Germany: apple fiber from cider production, whey from cheese manufacturing, and other food processing byproducts that were available despite wartime scarcity. The result was a fruit-flavored soft drink. The name was chosen through a company brainstorming session. Use your fantasy, in German, Fantasie, to come up with a name. It was shortened to Fanta. Fanta was marketed to the German military and civilian population throughout the war. It was popular. It was profitable. Max Keith maintained the operation through 1945, generating substantial revenue from a product created specifically for the German wartime market. When American forces arrived in Germany in 1945, Max Keith made the decision that secured both the company's future and his own. He presented the entire operation, including all wartime revenues, to Coca-Cola's returning American management. The profits were repatriated. The brand was retained. Fanta was subsequently launched globally. Fanta is today the second most successful Coca-Cola brand globally. It is sold in over 190 countries in more than 100 flavors. The majority of the people who drink it have no knowledge of its origin. Coca-Cola's official position is that the German subsidiary acted independently during the war. The Fanta origin story became widely known only in the 1990s. Corporation 4. This one does not involve the 1940s. It involves a war that started in 2003. And it involves a U.S. vice president, a no-bid contract, and a billing rate of $45 per bag of laundry. Corporation 4, Halliburton, KBR, Iraq, 2003 to 2011. When the United States invaded Iraq in March 2003, the military required comprehensive logistics, construction, and support services. The primary contract for this, known as Log Cap 3, was awarded to KBR, a subsidiary of Halliburton. The contract was awarded without competitive bidding. Dick Cheney, the sitting vice president of the United States at the time of the invasion, had been the chief executive officer of Halliburton from 1995 to 2000. He had left to become vice president 3 years before the invasion, but retained financial interests in the company through deferred compensation arrangements. The Log Cap 3 contract was structured as a cost-plus contract. KBR was reimbursed for all its documented costs, plus a guaranteed profit margin above those costs. The mathematical consequence of this structure is significant. Under a cost-plus contract, there is no financial incentive to minimize costs. There is a financial incentive to maximize them. The Special Inspector General for Iraq Reconstruction, a U.S. government oversight body specifically created to monitor Iraq reconstruction contracts, documented systematic overcharging. KBR billed $45 per bag of laundry in Iraq. The independent market rate for equivalent services was $3 to $4. KBR billed $100 per meal per U.S. soldier per day. Comparable food service under competitive contracting cost approximately $25. The total overcharging documented across multiple government investigations exceeded $2 billion. This was within a contract that ultimately paid KBR approximately $39.5 billion over the course of the Iraq engagement. The fraction recovered through fines and clawbacks was a small percentage of the documented overcharges. KBR was also separately contracted to reconstruct Iraqi oil infrastructure, the same infrastructure damaged during the war that KBR's logistics contracts had helped to prosecute. The circularity of profit, destruction contracted, reconstruction contracted, was made explicit in the contract structure. In 2009, the Department of Justice found that KBR had obtained contracts through bribery, paying approximately $180 million to Nigerian officials to secure natural gas contracts between 1994 and 2004. KBR pleaded guilty. It paid $579 million in penalties and disgorgement. No senior executive went to prison for the bribery scheme. And now, Corporation 5, Standard Oil, the company that is today ExxonMobil, and the arrangement with Nazi Germany that a U.S. Senate committee in 1942 called, in official public record, a treasonous act. Corporation 5, Standard Oil of New Jersey, the predecessor company to what is today ExxonMobil, and a business arrangement that a United States Senate investigation in 1942 described in the official record as a treasonous act against the United States. The story begins not in wartime, but in the 1920s, with a private market division agreement between Standard Oil and IG Farben, the same German chemical conglomerate that made Zyklon B. The two companies agreed to divide the world's markets between themselves. Standard Oil would maintain dominance in petroleum products. IG Farben would maintain dominance in synthetic chemistry. Neither company would compete in the other's designated territory. The arrangement also included technology sharing. Standard Oil shared its synthetic rubber technology with IG Farben as part of this arrangement. In return, IG Farben shared its synthetic fuel processes with Standard Oil. Both companies benefited from access to technology they had not developed independently. The arrangement was commercially rational, privately documented, and would become catastrophically consequential. When World War II began and Japan cut off Allied access to natural rubber supplies from Southeast Asia in 1941, the United States military faced a critical shortage. Modern military operations require rubber for tires, for seals, for aircraft components, for hundreds of essential applications. The U.S. launched an emergency program to develop synthetic rubber production. U.S. government investigators discovered that Standard Oil of New Jersey already possessed the synthetic rubber technology that the military urgently needed. They had received it from IG Farben as part of their market division agreement, and they had not shared it with the United States government or military. They had, instead, protected it as proprietary technology within the terms of their arrangement with a German company that was, by then, a core component of the Nazi war machine. Senator Harry Truman, chairman of the Senate Special Committee investigating the National Defense Program, concluded after investigation that Standard Oil had deliberately withheld technology essential to the U.S. war effort in order to protect a private business relationship with a German company. He called it a treasonous act. The official Senate record uses that word. Private legal correspondence uncovered during the investigation showed that Standard Oil's own lawyers had warned internally that the details of the IG Farben arrangement should never become public, because, they wrote, it constituted an act that no American could defend in public without permanently destroying the company's reputation. They were correct about the reputational risk. They were wrong to believe it would remain private. Standard Oil settled with the U.S. government in 1942, paying fines, releasing the patents, and continuing operations. The synthetic rubber shortage had affected American military production for approximately 18 months. Standard Oil of New Jersey became Esso, then Exxon, then, after merging with Mobil in 1999, ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil is today the largest oil company in the United States and one of the largest corporations on Earth. 5 corporations: IBM Bayer and IG Farben, Coca-Cola, Halliburton, KBR, Standard Oil, now ExxonMobil. 5 catastrophes: the Holocaust, 2 world wars, the invasion of Iraq, the Allied war effort undermined by a private business arrangement. And in every case, profit. Substantial, documented, largely unpenalized profit. The fines paid by these corporations represent, in every documented case, a fraction of the profits generated. In most cases, no senior executive went to prison. In most cases, the companies emerged from the catastrophe larger and more capable than before it. What connects these 5 cases across nearly a century of history is not ideology. IBM had no ideology. Coca-Cola had no ideology. Standard Oil had no ideology. What connects them is the consistent prioritization of a single variable: profit, above all others, including, when necessary, the survival of the people in the countries where they operated. Disaster capitalism is not a theory. It is a documented pattern, with names, with dates, with dollar amounts, with court records, with congressional testimony, with the company logos that are still on your products today. All sources used in this video are listed below. Every claim is documented. The companies are identifiable. The profits are quantifiable. What has not been quantified, and perhaps cannot be, is what those profits cost. If you want more investigations like this, subscribe. We cover the history that corporations prefer you forget.